here. We are healthy. We are alive and free. Who's your host? Dr. Joseph E. Marshall Jr.
Thank you, Lady E. That's me, Dr. M. All things alive and free, Street Soldiers and Omega Boys Club. Thank you once again for joining us on this wonderful, wonderful show this Sunday evening. The Emmys are, I think we should win something. We should win something. Actually, somebody said he was gonna just last night. Somebody said, I'm gonna nominate you for some radio award.
Nice.
Would you mind? Hell no. Why would I mind? No, I mean, so yeah, we need to win something. I mean, we won something a long time ago, but we need to win something again because there is no show like Street Soldiers, no show that plays a little music and save a lot of lives. And we have been busy. Boy, have we been busy these last few shows, and we're gonna be busy all the way through, at least through the election season, through the first part of November. Things are moving so fast, I can't keep up. I can't keep up. All right. I introduced myself, Dr. M. Lady E is here, Ann is here, Phil Mo is here. Y'all want to say hello, and more hello? Let's get it going.
Hey there, everybody. And Malcolm, I like that sweatshirt. Yeah.
I don't see Malcolm.
You don't see Malcolm?
Gotta open up the screen some more.
Oh man, I don't see him. What he got on? All right, okay, that ain't fair. You see him, I see him. But if you like it, I like it. All right, okay. He better then. Can he say hello, or is he just hiding? What's going on?
Doc, I'm right here. What's going on, Doc?
What's up, man? What's up?
And instead of an Emmy, I was going to suggest maybe we get, since we've done Street Soldiers, all of us for so long, free Everett and Jones for life, something like that.
I'm with that.
Yes, I thought you would like that one. Yeah.
With that, I'm cool with
Can
that.
we come up with something that I can get access to quickly?
Oh, I see. Well, you gotta name a spot down there. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got on Wilt.
Yeah, that's right. It's Will. This is Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain.
What is this? The Minneapolis Lakers, or is it, no? This is the LA Lakers. This is the old Lakers. I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, let's just say 72. Yeah, that's when they won the championship back in 72.
Okay.
With the Lakers. All right. You said hello. Fillmore, you want to holler? Although they know you because you've been here. But
I've been talking all day.
You've been talking all day.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got a lot to cover tonight. Let's jump into the news and so let's do the news. I want to get it quick. I got a couple announcements. We got to jump into the show. Yeah. So I want to thank you, man, so much for sending this week in good Black news. All right. All right. I like that. All right. All right. So you want me to do it? Which one? I don't
have it in front of me, so go ahead. I'm looking for it.
First is Kendrick Lamar to headline the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show. Kendrick is set to bring his powerhouse artistry to the world's biggest stage, headlining the Super Bowl. Is that 59? Did I say that right? Is it the way? 10 is X, 9 4. Looks like 59 halftime show in New Orleans on February 9th, 2025. All right. Good news. More good news. A'ja Wilson. Y'all follow the WNBA? I'm a big WNBA fan. All right. Love it. Has added yet another achievement to her stellar career, breaking the single season scoring record. She did that against the Indiana Fever. She has surpassed Jill Lloyd's 939-point mark, finishing that game with 27 points and 12 rebounds. They are the favorites once again to win the championship. Well,
A'ja out there balling.
Oh, A'ja,
balling all day, every day.
Consensus is A'ja is the best player in the W. Yeah, I know. I wouldn't want to go up against it. You think you can handle a film on? No, I forget that. That's not even fair.
Hey, WNBA playoffs gonna be nice coming up soon. And Mike, anything about Kendrick doing the Super Bowl? Any comment?
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, love it. All right. More good news. D'Angelo is back in the studio with longtime collaborator Raphael Saadiq.
Hey.
All right.
Oakland's finest.
Upcoming album. He's excited. Everybody's excited.
Hey, just news that D'Angelo's working on something. I think the last album was 8 years ago or something. It's been a while. He doesn't put them out all the time. So just the news that he's doing something is good news.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Not good news. Oakland High School football game abruptly canceled after physical alterations. Not long after players took the field for the second quarter of Friday night's varsity football game at Oakland Tech, the stadium was in mayhem. El Cerrito was leading Tech 6-0 when a conflict broke out, not on the field, but in the stands, and the fans spilled out onto the field, abruptly halting the game. All right, it was the second physical alteration to break out on campus that night. There was an earlier incident, and so they had to halt the game. It goes without saying, this behavior is absolutely unacceptable. The cancellation of the game took away from our student athletes' experience and the experience of our families and friends and the visiting team from El Cerrito that came from the staff at Oakland Tech. Now, it's been a while. There was a time a few years ago when they actually played, they didn't let the fans in the game because the fans was the problem.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they did a basketball game. That's terrible. There's no excuse for that. Let the kids play. Let the kids play. If you can't act right coming to the game, then what? Don't come to the game. They're going for a championship. What you going for? Nothing. Oh, whatever.
Dr. Marshall?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Was that yes?
Oh, no, everything you said was great. I just want to quickly put the spotlight on one particular school. It's great to have high school sports back and high school football back. But I just want to shout out one team in Concord, California. Doc, you know the school, Ignacio Valley High School. Last week, they broke the longest losing streak in California. They hadn't won in forever. They finally won a game, 26-20 last Friday.
Give them some love then.
They had lost 35 games in a row.
Ooh.
That ain't fun. Losing once ain't fun. 35 times in a row really ain't fun.
Congratulations for breaking that losing streak. You do not want to go on down in the history books in that way. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that, man. Thanks for
Kennedy High won last night, by the way, on Friday night. Kennedy won, and yeah, it's just good to see high school football back.
Yeah. Fans, let the players, let the young people play. All right, a couple of events coming up. Want to get to this. Politics is dominating everything. Politics is dominating things. We're going to get to that in a moment, but there is an event coming up this weekend, September 21st, 10 a.m., the Vote Smart Summit. Your voice, your vote. It is at the Oakland City Hall, 1 Frank Ogawa Plaza, obviously in the city of Oakland. This election, everybody knows, is being called the most important one in our lifetimes. This is why the National Panhellenic Council and all the 9 organizations, better known as the Divine Nine, are calling for chapters to mobilize around voter education, registration, and getting out the vote. So the Bay Area NPHC is hosting a Vote Smart Summit this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Oakland City Hall. The purpose is to educate the public about the power, purpose, and the process of voting in Alameda, Contra Costa, and San Francisco counties. We have a general session focusing on something I don't understand at all, ranked choice voting. I do not know what that is. I don't like it. So maybe they can help me like it, because I don't like it. Statewide ballot measures, the power of the vote. Going to have some panel discussions. Former Mayor Elihu Harris of Oakland, Honorable Lynette McElhaney, Honorable Wanda Williams, and and Dr. Joseph Marshall. Okay. They must have run out of people. Okay, so they asked me to come speak. There'll be breakout sessions to discuss Alameda, San Francisco, and Contra Costa specific rules. It sounds like a really, really good and timely summit, given that this is the time voting. This is it. You're not registered people, vote. You can't vote. Register. The Vote Smart Summit this Saturday, September 21st at Oakland City Hall. Okay, I'll probably mention it again. They said they're going to call in and mention it, so I had to get it done. Another event happening this weekend, and this will be the subject of our show tonight. I want to invite to the show Elena Bowles. Where you at, Elena? Where you at? Where you at? How you doing? You're on camera. Now you gotta unmute. You're looking good. All right. I got your flyer right here. Tell everybody, and this
Thank
is
you.
perfect because this is really the subject of our show tonight. Tell everybody about the 16th annual block party.
Well, hello everyone, near and far. My name is Ilana Bowles, and I'm a community organizer and event planner for Richmond and Oakland. And I'm getting ready for my 16th annual Put the Guns Down block party for the city of Richmond.
Love it.
And this event will be full of love, information, resources, wonderful prizes, as we are making sure that everyone can do their part with helping this ugly disease. We're also loving on the community at the same time.
Appropriate, perfect title. It's very clear. Put the guns down. That's it. It's like that's what I want you to do. Put the guns down is going to be also Saturday at September 21st at Nichols Park in Richmond.
Yes.
In fact, you can
Yes.
probably catch both events. You can go to both Smart Summit, then run over to the Nichols Park and catch the Put the Guns Down. I love that. I love that. We're going to mention this again several times. You are actually going to come back in the second hour when we have our discussion about school shootings and gun violence in general. So you get a chance to mention it again. And we're going to find out more
Thank you.
how you came up with this and why you are who you are, because you are wonderful. Malcolm, say hello to Alana.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
She can't hear you, Malcolm. She just like, wait, say something.
Oh, hey, Miss Bowles, good to see you. How you doing?
Hey, Malcolm, what's up,
Hey.
my friend? So good
Hey.
to see you again.
We got a real Richmond legend on the line right now.
We don't play. We get
Oh, cut it out.
You know
Cut
it's
it
true.
out.
You
We
know
get
it's
the
true. And
real folks.
everybody
All
who's
street
real
soldiers.
Richmond, they know you. You've been doing this for a long time, so
Well,
we're
God
happy
bless
to have you.
Well, this is going to be great. This is
Thank
going to be great, Elon. And looking forward to talking to you more about it next hour. Right now, we're going to jump into our show this week, which is all about, if you want to stay, you don't have to, but because you're coming back. But if you can, if you want, that's up to Ann, which is all about really the one thing that the presidential debate. That was last Sunday's show, right? Last Sunday's show was to preview the debate. That doesn't seem long ago, but so much has happened since that debate. We talked about it last Sunday. We asked people were they going to watch? Apparently, and a lot of people watched. 67 million people watched the debate. There is a consensus among who won, but and a lot has happened since the debate, right? Since the debate. So we're going to give the callers a chance, if they want to, make a quick comment about the debate, how they felt about it. They want to say who won in their eyes. It generated so many calls last week. But there was one thing they didn't talk about at the debate, and I watched from beginning to end. It was a bunch of topics, but there wasn't anything about violence and school shooting.
Wow.
That's the one thing they didn't ask either candidate about, violence.
So, Doc,
and
the
school
only
shooting.
thing mentioned of guns was Trump, saying that Kamala was going to take everyone's gun away. That was the one mention I remember in the debate about guns.
Like I said, yes, they didn't say, and it was odd, although you can't squeeze everything in a 2-hour period, right? Odd, or an hour and a half period, because the school shooting in Georgia had just happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that. That's going to be the main topic tonight. You can call in and talk about. I got to get it all out. You can call in and talk about, give your reaction to the debate. What I really want to talk about, what can we do about these school shootings? What can we do about these school shootings? That's what we want to know. 877-955-1061. The calls are coming in, Ms. Bowles. So we're going to always go to them first. 877-955-1061. What can we do about these school shootings? If you have a comment about the debate, go right ahead. We got somebody?
Morris.
Yes. Is this Pooh? Who is it?
What's going on, man? So I'm gonna make it quick,
Yes,
straight
sir.
to the point, Morris.
Yes.
So I did watch the debate last week.
Mhm.
I forget the two questions they asked Kamala. She could have elaborated just a little bit more. So instead of A+, I gave her an A.
Mhm.
Trump, he got a D-, close to an F,
Mm.
because he was still with the bullying tactics and the wanting to speak over the commentators and not letting nobody get a word in. So he flunked. But as far as these school shootings,
Yeah,
man,
man, what do you
we
think,
got to do
man?
something.
Go ahead.
We got to do something about these guns, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like these parents that's buying guns and then giving the guns to the kids. And come on, now that's, you know, hey, I don't know. We got to do something about these guns. And it's one thing I was always told: it's not a gun that kills a person; it's a stupid person with a gun that kills a person. You know, it's like, I mean, I can go on and on because, man, rest in peace to Coach, man. I mean, Coach saved me one night from a situation up at the NABE.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for Coach, I don't know, I probably wouldn't even be here right now. Who's to say? You know, because I almost made a stupid decision. But we got to do something about these guns, man. We definitely have to do something about these guns and these kids because, I mean, it's like we losing.
Well, you know, you send your kids to school, man. The last thing, and it happens. It keeps happening. That's the problem. It keeps happening, and we ain't doing nothing. That's the thing. It seems like we're not doing anything, you know. And so I got some ideas, and there are also some things that, you know, people who do this put out as something we can do. But right now, from Newtown, which was the little kids. I mean, I go back to Columbine. There are all these school shootings, and nobody's doing anything. Now, you mentioned this thing about parents buying guns. It turns out that the father bought the gun for his son when he was 14 and gave him an assault rifle.
Yes.
He
yes.
bought the gun.
Yes. Come on now, who does that?
Not me.
Who does that?
And you know what? Look, thanks for the call. I really do appreciate it. Keep listening because we're gonna go over and over and all of this. I want to hear both reactions to the debate and this thing about school shootings. 877-955-1061. 877-955-1061. This is the second parent, by the way, who is now being charged, Lady E. He's being held liable in connection with the deadly shooting that his son did, right? He's being charged. What is it? They're being charged with, I forget, some serious counts. All right. Yeah. So now they're not just getting, you know, they're going after the parent, you know. So 877-955-1061. And what did you think about the debate and more, and just as importantly for this tonight's show, school shootings, what can be done? What can be done? What can be done? Want to hear your thoughts. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Call in early because as we get closer to the end of the hour, we get all these calls and we can't get everybody on.
Yeah.
So anytime I tell you that the line is open, please call and tell us so you won't be like, Dr. Marshall, I tried to call. It didn't work. Dr. Marshall didn't call. What did you think about the debate, number one? And the second part of this conversation is, what can we do about these school shootings? What can we do about these school shootings? 877-955. Your opinion is very, very important to us. As far as I'm concerned, he gave him a minus and a D minus. It was a slam dunk. You ever seen? You a hoop fan? You know what a slam dunk is, Mike? When you just go and then like, and dude is just left on the ground. Yeah. That's the way it was, that debate. She, to me, was magnificent. She was just magnificent. A lot has happened after that. Yeah. You know, he keeps talking about all these crazy things. This Lady E, you were in schools for years, right? Did you ever worry yourself about anything like that when you were in elementary school? As a counselor, as a teacher, the whole bit. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
No, the only time I worried was when a parent came in and dropped her purse on the table saying, I carry a 35 millimeter every day. But other than that.
In the purse?
Oh, yeah.
So it was in the purse when she laid it down?
She didn't lay it down. She dropped it so hard, had it in a hair trigger. I wouldn't be on this call.
Didn't even worry. Okay. I mean, I didn't, and I taught for you.
No, there's never been a concern of any school shootings. And even though there was a lot going on at that little school, that was very disconcerting and troubling, but never that.
Let me give the number again, 877-955-1061. What did you think about the debate, presidential debate last Tuesday? Also, school shootings, what do you think can be done? What can we do? And do you think parents should be charged?
Yes.
Do you think parents should be charged? That's the newest thing. Do you think parents should be charged? By the way, with reference to your point, Lady E, and the same week that the shooting in Georgia happened, in Memphis, Tennessee, the mother of a 6-year-old was charged after her son took a loaded handgun to school and
For
passed
show
it
and tell.
around.
That's first grade, show and tell.
Yeah, passed it around to other students in her class. Court records show this was in Memphis, Tennessee. Ms. King is her last name. She has been charged with child abuse and child neglect and endangerment, carrying a weapon on school ground property and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So she is charged as a mother of a 6-year-old who took, I don't know if he took her handgun. Well, I don't know. I assume she got it from home and took it to school, but she is being charged. There's a couple other things that happened with regard to, it was also that same week, a 15-year-old was shot and killed in a Maryland school bathroom.
Wow.
I think you sent me this.
Wow.
And this all happened the same week
Yeah.
in schools.
Much.
And in this case, a 16-year-old student is in custody. What do you think about this, street soldiers? What do you think? 877-955-1061. 2 questions for you. What do you think about that debate? Who do you think won? Who do you think fared better? More to come. And as far as tonight, what I really talk about is these school shootings. Tell me what you think can be done. Tell me what you think can be done. I want to know what you think can be done. And what can we, and should the parents be charged? Should the parents be charged? All right, well.
You have Miss Ilana on. Miss Ilana, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was gonna have Ilana back, but I mean, she may have to.
Oh, my. Okay, well,
It's
okay.
She can. Ilana, you can go ahead. What do you think? While we wait for these phones to come in, 877-955-1061. And I'm hoping people have thoughts about this. You know, you should have a thought about, last week you were talking about debates like crazy. Ilana, you want to say
Well, I would like to comment on the debate. I did watch it. I got exactly what I expected. I got consent and articulation from Ms. Harris, and I received foolery from Trump. And that's exactly what I expected.
Yep.
And then the insults, you know, you have to be somewhat brilliant to insult a prosecutor. And he failed miserably. Also, as far as the school shootings, quickly, you know, I see the whole spectrum of it. The kids, the families, the devastation. You know, I'm also known as the funeral singer because by me helping to raise the babies when they're murdered, I sing for them. And you can watch that story. The San Francisco Chronicle covered that. And so the documentary is on YouTube and the story is there as well. But it's really ugly because violence is at such an all-time high. Yeah. And just like the brother said, he said, it's not the gun. He said, it's the stupid person that has the gun. I know a lot of young guys, excuse me, that have guns and they have them to protect their lives. And it's really sad, but it's their reality. And if you say, well, what can we do? We need to talk about it. Everybody, you know, when someone is murdered at the school, they have counselors there. They talk about it. And then boom, excuse me, we're on to the next. Why can't they have people that come in there and have a counselor there all the time to talk about it? Even when I do my events, I do active shooter drills for Put the Guns Down and just a couple of times during the year to make sure that the babies know how to get out of the way. Everything that I do, it's stop the violence. If it's a talent show, it's a stop the violence talent show. It's a stop the violence peace party. I am trying to embed that into them, that all this violence is not normal. And I don't want them to pick having a gun and shooting someone because you can't taper your anger, So they could talk about it just like they have people there to talk about all kinds of various things. Gun violence should be at the top. And it should be something that they do a couple of times a year, and at least, just like they do the fire drills, do a shooter drill. Let everybody know what to do, what precautions to take if there's a shooter in the building, instead of just after something happens. And that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, we need ideas because these school shootings continue. It's not like they don't. I thought after Newtown, no. I mean, when those little kids got killed, I don't know. You get this. I'm sorry. No, what it is. It's a terrible tragedy. It's this, you get the power, but then nobody does anything after. And that's why I don't really like when they even don't, you're not going to, well, I don't know. I'm just look.
You said it right. If you're not going to do anything about it,
okay, I'm gonna stop the violence guy. All right, so you can't send your kids to school and have to pray that they're gonna make it home. So yeah, all right, we got some cool. Sorry, all right, you're on Street Soldiers. Who with Dr. Marshall? Turn the radio down. You're with Lady E. If you got anything on the debate, go right ahead. But what can we do about these school shootings? And do you think the parents should be charged as they have been in this last case? Go right ahead.
Okay, well, I kind of feel like when it comes to the school shootings, if we was to go back and really try and taper the bullying that leads to the behavior that leads to these shootings, then we might be able to get somewhere. Because usually it's a kid that's being bullied or, not being heard, or it's something to that effect, but it's usually bullying, which leads to this. So I think if we did something to help with the bullying, then we would be on the right track to stop these school shootings.
That's a very good thought. That's an excellent thought. What do you think about parents being charged?
Well, the parents being charged is just being, holding their parents accountable. Because right now in this time, these parents aren't raising the children the way that we were raised. We used to get whoopings walking down the street, from the neighbors because it took a village and everybody understood that. But now it's like, if you touch my child, we have such a problem. It's ridiculous. So it's just a lot of stuff that, just basically we need to pray. Everybody need to bring these kids to church.
Well, they ain't going to church, that's for sure. I think that's also true. I don't know if that's the answer, but we're searching for answers. That's the thing, we're searching for answers. And
when you go to church, you believe in something.
Yeah.
Right now, they not believing in nothing, but the person down the street is making more money than them, and they need to figure out how to get it from them. So that's not what we need. Yeah. What we need, they need the Lord. We need to be praying for these kids, trying to get them back in the church, and these parents need to be knowing that they need to whoop these children's butts when it comes to this behavior that they know is unbecoming. When your child is out of control. It's like you raising your arm and you must be before anybody else. Your child is out of control. The behavior, what's going on. So sometimes it's just accountability.
Do you worry?
Accountability.
Do you have, I don't know if you have any children in school right now, but do you?
I have 3 boys and 6 grandsons.
Ooh, Lord.
And I almost lost one of my children, and I thank God that I didn't. You know what I'm saying? But it took a village to keep him alive. So I'm just like, it's a lot of behavior that just needs to be held, you just got to be held accountable for it. Once people start holding each other accountable for their behavior, then, your child is over there doing something that they don't supposed to be doing. If it's your daughter and she's 12, she don't need to be outside at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, or 11 o'clock. Like, we need to get back to being in the house before the street light with a book. You know, these people aren't reading to their children. They're not teaching them nothing. They just setting them out in the world thinking that they're going to learn something. And that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen.
Well, I love your passion. I love your passion, because if you don't feel about it, certainly nothing's going to be done. I'm of the old school where, you know, I would actually get in the face of somebody else's child. I don't have a problem because
that part.
You know, that's the way it was like when I was coming up, and that's what I still do, because you know, I look. One person can do a lot of damage, one person can do a lot of good.
That's the real. That's 100% real.
A lot of good.
You know, if we care about our children, we whoop their butt.
877-955-1061. Your thoughts on school shootings? I did not ask her about the debate. She had a lot to say. I wish I had. 877-955-1061. What do you think about the debate? A, B. For this show, I really want to know what you think about what can we do to prevent school shootings. There is a body. Oh, who's on?
I can piggyback on to what she was saying until the next caller comes in. Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with responsibility and accountability. The idea of getting children, families back in church contributes to the recognizing that you have a responsibility and there is going to be some accountability. And whether and when you see it, it's coming back, because that is a law, just like the sun is going to shine and one day is going to turn to the next one. You can't stop it. It's going to happen.
So all right, I was just calling to give him my thoughts on the debate, and it basically was good versus evil.
Yep. What?
And it just shows, you know, ignorance.
All right. Thank you, lady. Thank you, lady. We'll come back to you. You're on Street Soldiers. The debate first. Number 2 is the same way. Oh, she called back? Well,
I called back to give you my answer. And my answer of the debate is it just shows good versus evil. You know, ignorance versus intelligence. You know,
that's what Estelle said last week.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just go to show that he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
As Tiffany had to say, he was not ready.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready.
Yeah. It was it was a knockout, you know, as far as I'm concerned. They could have stopped the TKO at the end of the first hour. And I knew that was gonna happen though, because I know, like I said last week, I know her. Can't get she didn't have no chance. He didn't have no chance. She had all the chance. All right. Thank you for calling back and giving me your thoughts on that. 877-955-1061. Your thoughts on the debate. Just as importantly, maybe more importantly, because the debate did not talk about school shootings. I want to hear your thoughts on that. You're on Street Soldiers. Go right ahead, Dr. Marshall, Lady Estelle, and the Street Soldier crew. Who's calling?
Mac.
Go ahead, Mac. Go right ahead. Which one you want first? You want the debate? I really, yeah, I hear you. You're on. You're good.
So the debate, more importantly, I say the debate, you know, Kamala all the way, man. Trump's still with that, you know, taunting in all them jokes and stuff. So he failed miserably. Like, I see why that other guy tried to give him that head tap at that rally he had, because he really deserved that. But in these schools, it's terrible, man. But also, if a parent is giving a kid a gun, then you need to be charged, man.
Yeah.
No way you're giving a kid a gun, man. And a lot of kids out here in so much fear that they, you know, they feel like they need a weapon. You know, they scared of that one-on-one fight. They scared of, you know, to get a good whooping. You know, like you said, like, you know, you old school, man. You approach a kid. It's like nowadays that's scary, man. Like, that's scary, like, because these dudes pull out fast.
Yeah.
And you know, one of my partners had a situation like that with his kids. You know, try to go to the kid and talk it out, and the little dude whipped out on him and his dad.
Oh, his dad too?
Yeah, dad too.
So much for the village.
Man, I'm like, you know, he just try to go to, you know, talking. You know, his son was a good fighter.
Yeah.
And that's the little dude was scared of. But with these schools, like, other than that, man, it's like they need, you know, those things, those monitor things.
Yeah, you mean the,
you know?
yeah.
If it got to
metal
go to that, like,
detectors.
that's ridiculous. Yeah, metal detectors and stuff, man, because that's scary, man. There's no way a kid should be going to school with a gun, man. They got young dudes out here, man, that's doing life, man, before they even got their first piece of, yeah. Before they even had an encounter with a woman, man.
I know.
It's young dudes right now on the yard, man, 25 and under, man, like lifers.
I'm just hoping, man, that we my issue with the school thing is that we don't do anything. I mean, we don't even like be innovative to try stuff. Something happens, it happens, it dies down, everybody laments and it goes on. So I appreciate your call, man. Appreciate your call. Love your thoughts on both. Let's go to another call, 877-955-1061. Your thoughts on the debate and school shootings, what can be done? Go right ahead. You're on the air. Who's calling?
This is Joe.
How you doing? Oh, that's a great name, man. No, thank you, brother. Go right ahead, man. What's your thoughts on both?
With these schools,
yeah,
on the school shootings,
yeah,
I feel like the parents should go to jail because I feel like they know what their kids is capable of.
Okay.
And they know if they not been monitoring their kids, I think they're responsible until they're 18 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after, and I feel like this right here, if you can't control your kid, they got places where you can put your kids in these facilities, and I feel like you should pay rent for them. And I feel like at this point in time, if you're going to have your kid out here and you know he's toting weapons and he's out here doing all these things and you're not being responsible for your kid, he's going to hurt somebody. And I feel like you should be responsible for your kid. It don't even have to be for that. Just like the kid that was in the car driving and he flipped over with the kid in the car, and the parent was like, I want to prosecute the parents because they knew that the kid had been driving fast and they did not take the car from him. So it's responsibility. And I feel like the parents should be responsible until they're 18 years old. And if they ain't done what they supposed to do, they should go to jail too.
Yeah,
that's how
I feel you, brother. I feel you. And just reading this one about the 6-year-old who took the loaded handgun to school, he got the handgun from mom. You know, he got the handgun from mom. So yeah, all right. Another call? You know, we're talking about school shootings and the debate. What's your thoughts on both? Who's calling?
Yes, I understand exactly. And I agree about the parents should be accountable. But when I was growing up, we didn't have none of this about these guns going to school. You know, and we start with our fists, okay? And then as the other stuff, first they need to learn respecting their elders, learn about respect from home. If you're teaching your kids how to respect your elders, and when you want somebody to treat you one way, but you got to treat them the same way. You got to get respect. You got to give respect to get respect. And about the shooting, you know, these kids, like one of the ladies said about getting their butt toe up. Yeah, we got our butt toe up like I don't know what, you know, and punishments and everything. And see, that's what they lacking from the house. It starts at home. A lot of stuff starts at home. Because when we grew up, and plus our parents and the village around us, the community, they watched out for all of us. And first of all, when we doing something wrong, we don't get in trouble from the village if they see us.
Yeah.
And it was okay with the parents.
Yep.
And we knew where our kids was going and who they was around, and we couldn't stay over nobody's house unless we know where you at, who's there, and who's gonna be there. We checked. Our parents called and made sure it was okay, and what kind of adults was gonna be there.
Yeah, man, that's
So
old
we
school.
need,
That's definitely old school. You know, and I love that, man. I know that helped me because I was checked.
and see, that's what we lacking. That's what we lacking. And these kids need a better community center for them to learn how to deal with life. Life itself as is. Because this new generation, they can take over, and this is ridiculous.
Yeah, the school. I mean,
As parents and
you know what's interesting about a lot of these school shootings? They actually know the people, they're classmates of the people. And that's a whole dynamic we can talk about next hour. But I appreciate your call, man. Love your passion, man. You know, and look, stay alive.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
779551061. The debate or school shootings, what can be done, your thoughts, and should the parents be charged? Because they are charging parents now. All right. Got a call? All right. Who's on? Somebody on? Oh,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Al, and honestly,
I
don't want to talk about the debate.
Okay.
Anything to do with Trump, no, thank you.
Okay.
What about the school shooting and stuff?
Yes, sir.
That I want to say, heal the parents. It's heal them, teach them, get them up, because you don't always need to beat your kids to get them to do right, to get them to listen, to get them to do what you need them to do. There's a lot of parents out there that they do stuff like that, like give a gun to the kids, because they themselves, they don't know no better. They was brought up abused too. They were brought up without a mom or a dad or whomever was around, that they weren't the best of role models. So they're just looking at TV, rap music, and all this other stuff. Heal the parents. Let them become better parents. Show them the way of being parents. Let them heal from their own personal wounds and everything that they got going on there. Outside of that, how does a broken person raise someone else and not be broken as well? It's a pretty difficult thing. You got to heal yourself. So going back to the community thing, yeah, sure, we can go to church and do the community thing, but there's a whole lot of bad stuff around there too. We know about these, I don't know if I could say the pedophile on the radio, but yeah, there's that kind of stuff going out there, other kind of weirdo stuff. So I don't want to necessarily say, we want to go back to the community raising the kids, but we definitely do got to go back to the old school ways of being hard with the kids and stern with them, because they were hard and they were stern on the kids, and they learned how to grow and they learned how to be strong. So yeah, that's what I would say. Go with the parents and let them be better.
Thank you so much for listening and calling, giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate it. All righty. Thank you. 877. I don't have to get the number. I got a call. Who's on? You go right ahead. Thank you for calling Street Soldiers. Your thoughts on what can we do about school shootings, and should the parents be charged?
Well,
we can talk about this debate too. Who's calling?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, can you hear me?
Your show,
I
can hear you. Your show is a great show, and you guys need to be more than 1 hour, man.
I know.
What's up with Katie, man? I only give you one.
Sorry, look, I know, man. Look, I'm praying, man. I agree, but I gotta take what I can get.
That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen. You guys need to be up to like midnight or something. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, I'm gonna tell you something. Back in the day, we were, but times change. We grateful to be here. The time we got. What you got for me? What you think about this?
Well, you're part of the prescription. But I'm saying we need to hear more of you. I mean, not everybody knows that they got to go to YouTube, and going to YouTube is kind of complicated sometimes. /this, /this, and that, like this. You know what I'm saying?
I love you, bro. It's complicated for me.
Good night.
All right. Okay. You just want to, I love that. Yeah, man. Petition. What'd you say? Right in the whole bit. You're on. All right. Next call. Go right ahead. You're on Street Soldiers. Turn your radio down and we talk to us. Who's calling? Who is calling? Who? You gotta be ready. When Mike hits the button, you gotta be ready. Is that it? Is that it? You got a few minutes. You get back in. Yeah, 877-955-1061. A few minutes left in this hour. I want to hear what you think about school shootings. What can be done? And should the parents be charged? And that didn't happen before. The last two schools, well, I think it was in Michigan, or I know it was in the Midwest. And in this one, the parent is being charged, and the other one got sentenced. I think both parents did. I think both mom and dad. I don't have it in front of me. That's a big deal. 877-955-1061. Few minutes left in the hour. Give us your thoughts on what can we do about school shootings, and should the parents be charged? All right, here we go. Go ahead. You're on Street Soldiers. Hello? I don't hear
Is
you.
it Street Soldiers?
It is. You on. Thank you.
Yeah, I got something I want to say.
Yes, go right ahead.
Well, this is DJ. First of all, I want to say shouts out to the whole Bay Area, East Oakland house.
You got it, bro.
No doubt. Yeah. And what I do want to say is everybody needs guidance. The parents, the kids, we all need to sit down right alongside our kids and just start from scratch, man. Giving them the right guidance. And whatever they got going on in their life is obviously serious to them because, the kids live a totally different world. We know that coming up as teenagers.
Yeah.
The reality they live in is very real. Yeah. So when we trying to take one thing away from them, we got to remember to replace it with something else positive that's just as great to them and important to them, because you can't just take things away from them and leave them naked out here. That's what got them out here in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Do you worry about kids going to school and something happens?
I'm very much worried about kids going to school.
Yeah.
I have kids of my own, and they all graduated. Thank God. And the people in their lives, myself, the parents, the whole fam, the neighborhood. Yeah. So it does take a village, like the young woman said. It takes a village, and very much encourage kids to stay in some type of schooling, no matter where it's at and, what they're trying to accomplish. Just keep their minds busy with positive things,
Thank
I
you,
know
man.
parents that, I know parents that's raising their kids, and first thing they start them off with is keeping them busy. When they get out of school, they got school programs. They got stuff when they come home to work. So they never stop keeping them busy with positive things until it's time for them to go to bed. Do it all over again the next day.
Thanks, bro. Let me get. I got a couple more I want to get to for the hours up, and we got to transition. So thank you so much for listening, man. And calling. Go ahead. You're on Street Soldiers. Go right ahead. Who's calling?
Kyle Fowler.
All right. What you think? What can we do about school shootings? And should the parents be charged?
By Pittsburgh High School.
Yep.
And I had a 17-year-old high school kid pull a ghost gun in front of me on my house.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And I have a 10-year-old son, and my wife said it's not worth taking the kid's life, but I had a 19-year-old student that gave the 17-year-old the gun.
Oh,
the kid got
man.
16 months on house arrest, and the mom and the sister wanted him to be in juvenile hall. But the Contra Costa attorney, or the district attorney, is a joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well.
But he knocked over my garbage can and said, "Excuse me, young man, pick him up." Fuck you, old man. Excuse my language.
Yeah, we can't do that one on the air.
Sorry.
But we got your gist, that's for sure. Okay. Wow. I think we're just about what my man say, he got to go to / do it so we can continue, because we got a great group of folks going to continue to talk about this on YouTube. And yeah, Lord, don't worry. We got so much to cover next week, and next week after that. You know when we on. You know what time we on, so jump on and give it to them.
If you ever want to find us and find some more podcasts in this show, you can go to stayaliveandfree.org. If you want to join us right now, we are on live at YouTube Live at Stay Alive and Free.
We'll be back.
Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj.
All right, we are back. Second hour, alive and free. Street Soldiers Radio on Zoom this hour and on YouTube. That was some first hour. That was some when those calls get to coming in, they get to coming in. They roll in. And like I said, I love this. You need to be on. You need to be on. You need to be on longer. You need to be longer. But I really appreciate him going and taking this whole thing seriously. So this show tonight is focused on primarily, we gave them a chance to respond to any thoughts they had about the last Tuesday's debate, but the What we wanted to do was focus on school shootings because that did not come up at the debate at all. An hour and a half, you got a lot of topics to cover. But I said, well, then we got to do it. We got to do it. And you know, things move so fast. I don't want this thing to grow cold here, So joining us are some great folks once again. Two of them were on our last show recently that we did about gun violence, and also Miss Bowles, who is having an event this week called Put the Guns Down. So we're going to go through this, and each of you, once again, introduce yourself. We always start with introductions. I get, you know, if I start writing down titles and going to Wikipedia and all of that, I'll do it. So I'll let you introduce yourself and say what you do and all of that. So Davida, you start. Once again, introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into the conversation about school shooting.
Davida Briscoe, gun violence prevention liaison in Mayor Bruce Harrell's administration. This is the first ever position that was created to address gun violence response in the city of Seattle. So I play the role as a strategic advisor to the mayor, but also the person that's in between the community and giving information from the community just to meet the needs back to the mayor's office. So kind of that liaison person.
Julianne Dean, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Go, Dean. Okay. Yeah. Hi. Thanks so much, Dr. Marshall. My name's Dean Winslow. I always say a name, not a title. But anyway, I'm a professor of medicine and pediatrics at Stanford and Lucille Packard Children's Hospital. I also served as a flight surgeon in the United States Air Force for 35 years, retiring as a colonel. And I did 6 combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. And sadly, I've seen, too often, the terrible effects of what firearm injuries do. And again, I'll turn it over to Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Parsonette. We're married, in case anybody wanted to know. And I'm also a physician and a professor at Stanford, and I'm the president of Scrubs Addressing the Firearms Epidemic, which is SAFE, which is an organization that's really focused on preventing firearms injuries through education of physicians and healthcare providers, but also through rational public health approaches.
Thank you. And Elena, go ahead, introduce yourself once again and tell us your official position.
Yes, hi, my name is Ilana Bowles, and I'm a community organizer and event planner, also a funeral singer in Richmond and Oakland. And I do events to encourage the babies. I do treasure hunts, talent shows, peace parties, and then my biggest event is to putting the guns down events for the city. And I'm also a community mom.
Okay. The last time we did this, and Davida and Julie and Dean, you were both on the show, it was, our topic was that firearm violence had officially been declared a public health crisis in the United States. And the thought was then, the hope was that framing it as just framing it that way as a public health crisis would impact gun violence in our country. Of course, that just happened, so we don't know how it's going to be. But the hope was that it could really take it out of the realm of politics and put it more in the area of public health where it belongs. Gun violence, we know the numbers. I don't want to go off the numbers. You don't even know the numbers that it ain't cool. It's not cool. But I will say that in 2024, there have been, it's interesting because when we report these and a little bit, people report it differently, but here's one I saw, and this belongs to a group called Everytown, which does these kind of statistics. In 2024, so far, there have been at least 139 incidents of gunfire on school grounds, resulting in 42 deaths and 92 injuries. Nationally, they also go back all the way to 1970, but let me just say, this is one of those things with one life. And worry. If you got to worry, you don't need the numbers, okay? You don't need the words. And I will say this, as probably the elder in the room. Can I say that? I didn't worry. I didn't worry. And I grew up in a place, I call it, but I wouldn't, South Central Los Angeles, okay? I didn't worry. I might have worried every place else, but I didn't worry in my house and I didn't worry at school, okay? So let's just jump into this. Here's the latest school shooting and the weeping and the gnashing, and we need to do this. Why can't we, in your opinion, why can't we do something? Because it doesn't seem, to me, it doesn't seem like we're doing anything, all right? And if we're doing something, you guys tell me. Or are we just turning a blind eye and hoping that it doesn't happen, which is the worst thing you can do? If and maybe you those of you who are, in this, are we doing anything with regard to preventing school shooting? Preventing, not reacting to, okay, not afterwards, because somebody's dead. What are we doing? Julie, Dean, Ilana, Davida, have we done anything? I mean, I go back to Columbine. That was the first one that lit it, right? Like, so I don't want to name the ones that gives it life. Uvalde in Florida, and of course Newtown. And you got it. Now, can any of you help me with it? There, what are we doing? Or if we haven't done anything, that's okay.
I'll make a few comments. I think first of all, thank you so much for having us and for doing this, and it's really nice to see Davida again, who is just such a great thinker in this area. I think as a nation, I would say that we are not doing anything. I don't.
I'm not crazy. Okay, good.
Yeah, on a national level, I don't think we're doing anything. I think there has been some efforts to do things on local levels, at individual schools and individual school districts. And some of the things are about having better reporting. So when kids hear that somebody else is threatening, or saying that they're going to have they're going to bring a gun and shoot somebody, there is better reporting and better response in some communities where they have really set up some very effective hotlines and also some very effective or more effective psychological support for students in schools and approaches to things like bullying and things like that. So I do think that some school districts have, and some states even, I think North Carolina is one as an example, have done a pretty good job trying to find out who is at risk and who is threatening, but it's not nearly enough, and it's not a national thing, and it's still going to miss some. But I know that there have been shootings that have been averted because of things like that. But it's not. It's too little, and it's not national.
Yeah, that's the point. It's funny you said not national. That strikes me with police reform. There's not a national centralized police reform. There are district police, districts that do something, but other police districts don't. So you're right. You could do something about your school, your district, maybe even your state. I don't know if there's any statewide reforms this way, but yeah. And thank you for saying that school shootings have been averted because at least some folks are alerted to the possibility that it could happen. Do you know of anything that's been done? Do you want to add that we've been trying to be proactive in trying to stop it before it start? And I'll be the pessimist here because I'm yeah. You got any?
Again, thank you for having me. Really glad to speak on this topic.
You just have a school shooting. I think you said something when I texted you. Yeah.
So here in Seattle, and again, this is on a local level, on a city level. I'll get up to the national level. There actually has the Biden administration just got the the Safer Communities Act, where they have been trying to provide more mental health resources for some young people that may be in crisis. So there's a few things that the Biden administration, they have actually established, the first ever in over 30 years, Department or Office of Gun Violence Prevention that I think Kamala Harris oversees. So that's a start on a national level. It's not enough, but at least that's a start. On a local level here in Seattle, in I think the last year and a half, we've had like 8 shootings on two or three school campuses. Actually, last week there was 4 people, not on the campus, but near the campus. And most of the study from Everytown is shootings that are happening on school grounds, not necessarily inside the school. So I want to make a distinction real quick. So there is the school shooting, school violence that you hear about, like with the Columbine and the Sandy Hook. That's a different, for me, that's a shooting where you have someone coming into the school and just randomly targeting, different faculty and children, right? Yeah. The other type of gun violence that we're also seeing is where the urban gun violence just plays out, which happens on the street, is the community violence that we're seeing. That type of violence is making its way to the campus. Right. So I think those are two distinct things, and I think there are 2 different approaches to both of those. So when we're talking about the school violence, there's a lot of things that since the Sandy Hook shooting, there's just been a lot of policies that have been passed, like raising the minimum age to 21 to prevent young people from being able to go to a gun store and just buy a gun. So there's just been things like that, raising the minimum age. There's like mandatory background checks at a lot of these gun shows, people just walking in and buying a bunch of guns.
Now, that's not nationally, that's in Seattle?
That's here in Washington. They're called red flag laws. Okay. Yeah. But this is every state can pass, our legislature has passed a lot of these laws, closing the loophole on ghost guns. Right now, people can go online, order a ghost gun kit, put the gun together, and anybody can buy these guns. It doesn't matter if you're have mental health challenges. It doesn't matter if you're a criminal. You can go online and buy a ghost gun kit and put the gun together, buy little pieces, put it together. So it's been things, laws, policies that have been passed to try to stop things like that for people accessing weapons as frequently, because, proliferation of weapons is our biggest problem. So that has just been some of the ways that they have tried to, they've done things like 10-day waiting periods. Let's say somebody is in a crisis, they're upset, and they just try to go to a gun store and buy a gun right away. The 10-day waiting period is to give people a time to cool off, and also so that they can run more background checks on to see, does this person, have they had some mental health challenges, or are they domestic abusers? So they kind of look into a person's past and give that 10-day window to do those things so that they can see if this person should have this weapon or not. They're at some of the gun stores, they're mandating that a lot of some of our people who are purchasing a weapon to talk to the people about lock boxes. To keep the gun locked up. So there's just been some things, like in Seattle, we have a mandatory reporting. If their gun is stolen, they have so much time to report the gun being stolen. So there's just been, different things. And to me, it's those type of laws will, where somebody is a legal gun owner and can go to a gun store and buy a gun. The community violence that we're seeing, most of our people are shot with illegal guns or guns that just made its way into the street, and they're buying the guns on the street or online or whatever. So those are maybe 90% of those shootings that we see in the community. Those are not people went in and, they purchased it legally. They're illegal guns. So anyway, I think so. The executive order that the mayor, this was a new approach that we just did. This executive order by Mayor Harrell was where the school district, the superintendent, joined forces with the mayor's office. And I've had this problem with my own son. My son was being beat up on his way to school. So I called the school and I said, well, what are you going to do about my son, in protecting him? Well, the school said, well, if he didn't get beat up within this amount of feet from the school, that's not our responsibility. That's the city's responsibility. So I called the city, called the police. Then the police said, no, it's the school's responsibility. So I said, well, who gonna keep my son safe when I'm not there? They kind of both just blamed each other. And so what this executive order did was it brought the school, the superintendent, to share some responsibility with the city. So there's some specific things that the schools want to do, and there's some specific things that the city is doing. And they kind of put this package together of how they will address gun violence, and our public health department as well. So there were like these three entities coming together to support school student safety. And there's like a three-prong approach of how we're going to roll this out. So it's about a $16 million package to try to address school safety. And what happened with this young person is they were on campus, and most of the people who are getting shot are innocent bystanders. Somebody is coming on the campus to shoot a specific person, but somebody else gets shot by accident or unintended. Uh-oh, what happened?
You're there.
Okay, okay, I can't see. Something just happened, but I can't see y'all now. So that's why we have really made this investment and did this collaboration with the school district to address these shootings that are happening on our campus. So one of the things that's a best practice is what they call safe passage. And that's like where community providers are outside after school, making sure students are getting to the bus. There's no conflicts. They're looking around the perimeter. A lot of young people say, we're going to go fight after school. Meet us over here, at this transportation, so the community is deeply involved with how can we get to know the young people, get to know what problems they're having, and try to intervene and interrupt some of those conflicts that are happening. So that was one approach. But there's another, what she said about the anonymous tipping line, that was another thing that came out of the Sandy Hook, that young people being able to give anonymous reports and to know that something's going to be done about it. So what Sandy Hook did was they set up like a crisis center that's managed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. People can call in on those anonymous tips, and they have 3 shifts round the clock, all the week, all day. And people can call in and they follow up on those calls within 1 minute. And so they make assessments, they refer. So it's a whole way that they're doing this. The Sandy Hook Promise is just a way to address some of the kids that are in crisis, and to be able to have young people, community members, parents, to call this anonymous tip line, to have someone to follow up on somebody. They're finding that 9 times out of 10, all these shootings, somebody knew this kid had a gun. Someone knew this kid was in a mental health crisis. Someone knew, and no one said anything. And so with this anonymous tipping is one of the ways that they're also addressing school violence.
Well, it's good to hear efforts.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to hear ideas, and it's good to hear somebody somewhere is trying to be proactive to prevent. And I'm sticking on the prevention thing because the aftermath is, the grief counseling and all that, that's after. I don't want nobody to get shot in the first place. So
yeah, you're right. So I would say,
Ilana, let me just ask Ilana real quick. What do you think we can do to stop it beforehand? Not what do you think we can do?
Educate. educate and listen, and a lot, as much chaos as our babies see, I try to make sure that they see a lot of positivity, a lot of encouragement, and listen to them. Listen to them when they're telling me that someone's bothering them, or when they have little gangs in their community, and I have to listen. But for me, prevention is the key. Intervention and prevention, making sure that there's something going on all the time, that giving them something to look forward to, which is always geared in the area of stopping the violence, being aware of the violence. So that's what I use. Intervention. I mean, I've been shot myself. I've been hit by a stray bullet myself. Thank God it was just in my ankle. But I've seen gun violence on so many different levels. But at least when they get to be adults, and the generation changes, they say, Miss Lana, thank you, because I know the time that when you're teaching us those games, you were teaching us how to stay alive. So intervention for me.
So
can
we have, let me just say, was that, let me say, we have a violence problem, but more specifically today, we have a gun violence problem. And it's not, but these initiatives that folks like DeVita and other cities are involved in, specifically around gun violence. And when I say I wasn't no school shootings I remember. There might have been school fightings I remember, but there was a whole bunch of those, but it wasn't any school shootings. And anytime I talk about it, I never went to the funeral of a young person when I was younger, a lot younger, and kids are marveled, and just because we had many of the same, I'll say this, we had all the same issues that a lot of young people have today. But we just had no guns.
I think that's a really good point. And, again, you and I might be around the same age. And, again, I grew up in Dover, Delaware, and, our schools were integrated. And I still remember, the only kid whose funeral I went to in high school died of blood cancer. And again, he was one of my teammates on the track team. I'll say his name. It was Daniels was his last name. And again, he was just a wonderful guy, and but African-American, by the way. Like, 70% of my teammates were on the track team. But again, we didn't even think about guns in 1969 or 1970 or 1971. And I think, we're really just forgetting the fact that it's guns that make things legal, so lethal. It's not just as, you and I, Dr. Marshall, may have, gotten into a fist fight or something like that. But, again, you put a bullet through somebody's head, you're probably not going to survive. I think it's wonderful, that DeVita, the work that, you and your team have been doing in Seattle, and that's great. And, certainly, the area in Connecticut around Sandy Hook, that's exceptional. But the problem is there's nothing that's mandated nationally. And, again, the Republicans love beating up on Chicago, because of, gun violence and gang violence there. But the real issue is that even though Chicago has pretty strict, gun registration requirements, you only have to drive 10 minutes to Indiana and you buy a gun with basically no questions asked. And so I think, we really are failing at a national level. Very things that even most gun owners even would support, including like, national background checks, requirements for safe storage of firearms, requirements to basically keep assault weapons out of the hands of youngsters. Like we just had this shooting like 10 days ago in Georgia, with a 14-year-old who somehow was able to get an AR-15, which is basically the same weapon that I carried in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Let me just say, it turns out that his father bought the gun for him.
This
as
is
a birthday present.
This is the other thing that I totally agree with that. And I do, first of all, I want to comment something that DeVita said, which is that we're talking about two different things on these school shootings. There are the sort of school shootings where there's a shooting at a school, but it's not this indiscriminate shooting. And then there are the kids who come in who are shooting everybody up who get their parents' AR-15 and they go shoot up the school. And those make a ton of press, but they are the minority of the school shootings. They are just a really small percentage, but they make a ton of news. And I think those ones in general, the kid, with some exceptions, the kids are using guns from their family. It's not their weapon per se. It's this weapon that this kid in Georgia used, I think was actually his father's gun. And that his father went out and purchased. And the other one that was up in Michigan, there was that other school shooting where he was using a gun that father bought for him. And they said they thought it was locked up. So some of these, I think, could be prevented with more responsible adults in the household in these particular, those sort of indiscriminate school shootings. I think you could possibly do better by really having safe storage laws and making sure they were maintained and making sure parents know their responsibility. And I think the fact that both of those parents are getting prosecuted for what's going on in the school might incentivize people to be more careful about what they allow their kids to have access to. But there is the other side that Davida talked about, which is a lot more, which I think is really problematic and probably a bigger problem overall. And that's that it's so easy to get guns in the United States. It is so easy to get an illegal or a ghost gun. And it's such a, there is I think sort of a boost of masculinity when you carry a gun, and it makes you feel like you're somebody and something special. And I think there's a lot of issues around that we haven't figured out how to address at all. And those may not be as, those are more, I think, a larger proportion, but they make much less news, I think.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to share what Michael Williams shared in the YouTube chat at Stay Alive and Free. He said, I believe that if parents have knowledge of a child's intent and or willingly allow access to the weapons by minors, then they should be held responsible. He also said that they should address the school bullying and hold accountable those that turn a blind eye to those situations. So thank you, Michael, for sharing your thoughts with us.
I take it back to the basics. I mean, that's the basics, but to what I call the root of all of this. And whether it's, community violence, school violence, domestic violence, and Davida knows I say this all the time, the biggest risk factor in violence is guns. So Dean, when you and I say that we didn't go to any funerals, it's because there weren't many guns. So the more guns you're going to have guns, people going to die. I think you just accept that. If you're going to have guns, you have given to us. That's why there's a problem with gun violence. There's not a problem with knife violence. There's not a problem with fist violence. There's a problem with gun violence specifically. It lessens the chance. I always tell the kids, you could bring all your issues to meet with me. You can put 100 kids in a room. Bring your issues. You can't bring a gun. You bring a gun, there's going to be a problem, right? I can't do nothing about a gun. So I think, we look at other countries where they have less violence. Well, gun violence, it's because they have fewer guns, and they're serious about guns. America is a gun-loving place. They love guns. They don't love little guns. And they're not even reasonable about guns. That's the other thing. They're not even reasonable. We're trying to get them to be reasonable. The other half of the equation to me is, again, Davida knows my whole thinking around this, is if you got a problem, you solve it with violence, right? Now, we had problems. Now, I'm not saying it was the best solution. We tried to solve it with fists. That's one thing. Now you get to fight, it's over with, you guys become buddies, all right? All right. The problem is people are taught to solve their problems with violence, or believe they can solve their problems with violence. And the easiest way at this point to solve your problem is to pick up the gun, right? It's to pick up the gun is the answer. So for me, and I always say this, when you have a gun, it changes your mindset. It changes the way you think. what you can do. That's the reason they have guns in the Army, right? Because you know, it'd be, you gotta have a gun. You know, we worry about the police because they got guns. And what do we worry about? The mindset that they bring to the equation, right? So it's going to me to be very, very difficult when you have unfettered access, and I'm using the word unfettered access to firearms, when there is no, I remember somebody saying, one of these other folks saying, they always say, well, this person has a mental health, somehow we're giving you guns to everybody, but they have mental health issues. Okay. But you're not checking for mental health issues. You're giving anybody a gun. So it makes no sense to me, except that, it's making money. And I don't think that people, they don't seem, I guess, to be, and Ilana and Julie and Dean, even when these terrible tragedies happen, whether they're inner city, suburbs, school, street, it's this, they like, they don't try. They're not trying. Now, I must say this, that is, to me, the Second Amendment says we don't have guns no matter what. Okay. Now that's, they love it. Australia doesn't have that. So, that's not an issue for them because, they can't say, well, it says so in our Constitution. But you know that there are common sense things that most people actually want. And you said some of them, DeVita, you said some, there's a number of them that we're not enacting, that after every tragedy, we just, what did MTG say? I don't say her name, but go ahead, Ray. Go ahead and do. I mean, it's tragic that, and this only happens in America, which is supposed to be, So here's what I do. Here's what I do. I'm like, I look at it, and again, I look at every single person as one person can do a lot of damage, and one person can do a lot of good. So my approach has always been, the gun ain't gonna solve your problem. I don't care what you think it's gonna do, it's not going to solve your problem. You can't solve your problem with the gun, all right? You're going to make it worse, right? And I've actually done the unthinkable. You guys won't believe this. They just know the gun. They actually think, listen to, again, to be noticed, from a health standpoint, they see the gun is a risk factor in their life. So they actually use a medical approach and saying, oh, I'm putting myself at risk by having a gun.
Great.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing for a young person to say, oh, this is making it worse for me. I'm thinking it's better for me, but it's not going to be. Now, that takes a lot of education, a lot of scenarios, a lot of looking back at things and how they feel, how they think, what they're going to do, and so on and so forth. It's the mindset. And for me, that's where, when you talk about education, those are the things to me that we should be talking about with young people and with people, period, but certainly with young people. Having those, because what really drives the gun is the fear, right? That's why you got a gun in the first place, is you scared. Everybody says the same thing. I need it for protection. So you're afraid. Instead of dealing with your fears, you let the gun, you let it live in that little gun or the big gun that you got. And everybody, any one of these school shooting people, they have issues. They're worried about something, and they take it out with the gun. So I think we need to do all of these things, but I definitely think we need to have the conversations with people around why you got a firearm in the first place.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree as well.
What's going on with you?
I know that there's the policies on the federal, state and local level, but I think I agree with you 100%. There's this other piece about a cultural shift, and dismantling all those myths we really believe this stuff. We believe, we'll get a gun for protection. So it's just a lot of like having a lot of those conversations, especially.
And let me say that it doesn't matter if the little old lady up in the hills or the little homie down they both say the same thing. I need it for protection. So this is a universal rationale that everybody, white, black, green, purple, old, young, has. And we're not dealing with the universal rationale. We're dealing with the after effect of the fear that they're worried about, so guns begat guns. That's the problem. Guns begat guns.
That's right.
Yeah.
And even what you said too about fear, and even in the streets, you got the thinking that says if you pull it, you got to use it.
How to use it, yeah.
So even if you're not being threatened, but just the fact that you pulled it out and you didn't use it, that's a problem. That's a problem, So and if you're in that lifestyle, you got to be willing to use violence at any time, or you could lose your reputation. So, I mean, it's the thinking that goes into how I'm going to behave or how I'm going to carry this out. But you're totally right. I think the cultural shift is the biggest thing to me, is having those conversations, educating. To me, I think it should be mandatory in every school across the country. I don't know why. If there is, it should be mandatory that they have violence prevention, and it could be a part of health, credit, or whatever. I think that is the biggest thing that we could start doing, all the way from elementary all the way to high school. I think it should be just mandatory. There's some guy now, he's trying to do a firearm safety training in the schools. I think we did just pass a bill to do gun violence prevention education. But even with the firearm safety curriculum, our police department and even the NRA has been putting out some type of so-called prevention, but it's not preventative. So they have said, we got to check the curriculum before you guys start teaching it, because we're not just letting any kind of curriculum come into the schools, because some of that curriculum is more harmful than it is preventative. So even with the education, who's teaching it and what is it? Where did it come from? So, but yes, I think educating in the school is the number one, and in the households, in the homes.
And Ilana, your thing is put down the guns. You didn't say put down the fists. You didn't say put down the knife. Put down the guns, right? Which means what you're essentially saying, whatever issues you got, this ain't the way to solve it. That's why you're saying put the guns down.
We're losing too many of our babies over and over and over. And, by me being the funeral singer, I've sung for more than one child per mother. I've sung for a woman. I've sung for all three of her sons. I've sung for two other people. I've sung for both of their sons. And so it's normal now. The funerals, some people cry, but it's like routine now. And also a lot of the people that make the decisions about the laws, their children are not being shot at. There's no gun violence in their neighborhood, so it wouldn't be at the top of their list.
It's gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough. It's really gonna be tough, because I'm not sure the will is there yet. I don't know how the will can be. If the will wasn't there after Sandy Hook, I don't know. There was a little bitty kid. You walk into a school.
We've changed culture about other things before. We've managed to change the culture of cigarette smoking, where everybody used to smoke and we don't anymore. And we've changed the culture of driving, where people wear seatbelts and they don't fast. And we've changed, and people said it could never happen, right? But it is a long slog. We're not going to change it overnight. And if the culture is going to be changed, I agree, we've got to put a ton of effort into education.
Mm-hmm.
And we may have to put efforts into things like teaching people how to box, or how to speak better, or be more able to express their views. Because in some sense, violence is a response to not being able to actually communicate what you want to say, and not being able to get your point across or get what you need. And maybe we need to be better at teaching people to speak And if they have to use violence, it's much better to use your hands than to use a gun.
And as far as I'm concerned, we sit down and have the right kind. And look now, the violence is the way of the world. So this is, and what I'm talking about is probably some kind of utopia utopia thing. But look, we're into life. We're into there's nothing more valuable than an individual's life. And I think having conversations around these things can help young people, because most of these people, I know, every time I talk to somebody that, man, I was scared. I mean, I've and you've seen this, Davida. I've seen gang members just waiting for somebody to say, "Don't do it." And once one said, "Well, I didn't want to do it anyway," you didn't want to do it. It takes courage. It takes the kind of courage. I call it Martin Luther King courage, to step out and say, "This isn't going to solve your problem. This is only going to make it worse, because you're going to probably create an enemy when you shoot somebody anyway, right?" And that's where all it starts. And so there's definitely another way to solve these issues without pulling the gun and killing somebody. And just look at the wars we got going on right now, right? All they do is kill people. They don't kill. And it goes back and forth and back and forth. It doesn't get resolved. That's the extreme. But certainly, you look at these schools that are wounded, all the students that are, all the places that are wounded, the neighborhood is wounded, and it's all because of firearms. And I commend anybody that gets to somebody not to use that gun. I do. Any of you, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the mom that pulls the kid. I know what my parents would have done. I had a gun. No. I commend anybody that stands in the way. And Lady knows, when we started the club, I used to take guns from the kids when they came to the club. No, you can't bring a gun in here. Oh, no. You can bring your attitude. You can be high when you come in here. That ain't good either. But you cannot bring a gun in here, because that's death. So Elena, what you're doing, Alana, what you're doing, saying put down the gun. Somebody has to plant that in their head. Somebody has to say, put the gun down. Everything you're doing, Davida, up there. And Lord, you work in government. You got the hardest job of all, as far as I'm concerned. And Dean and Julie, whatever you're doing to get people to think differently about this, and have them work with their fears, because it's the fear that's driving them. It's the fear. I'm afraid. Well, you have to deal with your fear. It's because if you don't, you're going to hurt somebody. I always tell people, you don't have to worry about me. I ain't gonna shoot you. I might hit you, but I ain't gonna shoot you. Well, why aren't you gonna shoot me, Dr. I ain't got a gun. You ain't got to worry about it. People just look at me like, oh, it's nice being around you. But I'm the exception. When I walk out of here, everybody else got one. I got to worry about everybody. You might have a bad day, might be upset. The former president has gotten shot at twice, right? You with assault weapons, which you figure might get him to think, well, but you said everybody should have one. Okay, well, now that everybody's got one and they got an issue with you, so they didn't walk on the golf course and hit you with a golf club. They tried to shoot you. So our thinking is so backwards as this. This is really, I'm really admiring anybody that tries to do whatever they can to stop somebody from pulling out a gun and using that trigger, because you don't come back from that. In fact, if you have to be the sing at these funerals, it's just ridiculous. Just horrible. So we'll see. I know the whom I consider to be and want to be the future president of the United States, that says she's going to try once again to get a lot of these common sense things. There's no reason that people should be running around with AK-47. What are you doing? What are you doing with that? I mean, what are you doing? The average person can just buy something. That's ridiculous. So there are these common sense gun laws, and there are common sense things you can do with schools, and you've talked about a lot about them, Davida. But at schools, I think we should really have these conversations with kids about how to deal with their anger, fear, and pain. that would help, I think.
And drills and active shooter drills.
Yeah,
Teach them what to do to stay alive if
I
the
know.
shooter
That-
happens.
Yeah, I know. I hate to. That's painful to have to have a active shooter drill. I know they do that. They do that a lot in LA. They just drop and roll. Yeah, it's necessary.
Well, if the will was there, you see how quickly they responded to COVID, how much money is going into the opioid epidemic and every other epidemic, but this just seems to be one that, we just can't get the political will, and it's the number one issue for our young people. Our young people are. The Attorney General just said that gun violence is a public health issue, and this is the number one killer of our young people are guns.
And it's the number one issue in suicide. Number one issue suicide, which was affecting mostly Wyoming. I mean, those states in the in that area. Those are mostly suicides. There, you give a gun, that's what they use. So. But we got a gun thing here. We just love them damn guns. So I got to just say, anybody that puts it down. I remember when Coach came to the organization, Coach Wilbur Jiggets, and he was like the grandfather. And Coach was a military man like you, Dean. Mm-hmm. And when he got there, he carried a gun everywhere he went. But when he got there and he saw us working with these kids, and when we went through a whole model of risk factors, and we said the biggest risk factor in violence is guns. He did something most people don't do. He said, well, gave his gun away. He was never, and we walked in some pretty wild places, like gang members in Chicago and gang members in LA, unarmed. And actually it worked in our favor because we were unarmed. That meant they didn't have to worry about us. But as a military man, for him to put up his gun was just remarkable. But he had to demonstrate to the young people that he, believed in staying alive and free, and this was the way to do it. And it's rare when that happened. Lady E, you've been waiting and listening, and I know there's some things you want to jump in. I did have some things that I found that were best practices, but I think you covered a lot of them, Davida. But Lady E, you want to go ahead and jump in?
For the wrap up or
anything you want to say? No, anything you want to say?
Well, before the wrap up, let me just say that I absolutely agree with so much of what's been said tonight. I think that our young people, when we think about what triggers them to feel like they've got to do the extreme, either get even or get something resolved, where it needs to be addressed and it isn't, it needs to be addressed. That needs to happen. Too many kids are dealing with stuff at school. Davida talked about her son who was bullied. Nobody did a thing. Nobody did a thing. That is unconscionable to me. I think every school not only should have a metal detector, but every new grade level that comes in, there needs to be assemblies, talk it over, let them know how it's going to go down. This is what we expect. Guidelines, absolutely have somebody at that school site on a regular basis. Classes, programs that's going to keep the peace. And then if there is a disruption, deal with it. Teachers, deal with it. The kids are coming to you and you are doing nothing. Look, deal with it. I've been in schools. I've been a school counselor, and I know exactly how those kids feel when they go and talk to the teacher. The first thing the teacher says is, don't be a tattletale. And then something goes down and the parents want to know, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you talk to somebody? Okay, we tried. We're talking. We need to really think about what we're teaching our kids when it comes to don't be a tattletale. Don't be no snitch. But then you need to know what's going on, but you've already trained them. Don't talk about it. Don't. We need to know. But then we need to do something once we know. They're looking to us. And what are we giving back? Nothing. Certainly not enough if they feel like they got to get guns. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. Deal with it at the school level. Let those teachers know, say something, do something, send them to someplace at that school, hold everybody accountable, keep your word. We are not having it up in here. All right. In school, after the bell rings, from the time, because my school, I was responsible until that child got home. Not 50 yards outside of the building. No, they had to make it home safely. Do I have to take you? Listen, no, I'm not losing a kid. I'm not singing, and I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of praying. I'm going to let you know. Have your mother come up here. Baby, I've had them come up there with the guns. Yes, I've had parents in my room, in my office with a gun. What? Are you serious? Anyway, and then something goes down. No, we need to stop it. Those are not my closing remarks, however.
Great.
I just wanted to tell one little personal story. When I met my ex-husband, he used to carry a gun around in a shoebox everywhere he went. And I kept saying, why do you carry that gun in that shoebox? He said, oh, so I can get to it faster. And I guess he had been in an incident where he couldn't get to the gun faster or as fast as he needed to. And so he had in his mind, he was so afraid that he carried this gun around. It took me like 2.5 years to get him to stop carrying that gun. I mean, I had to just, so I say that to say that this is person to person too. It's not these blanket laws that we have to pass. It's going to be one person at a time. So, you know, however you can communicate that, but he hasn't carried a gun ever since then. I got him to sell that gun, and he has not had a gun ever since, but also changing his lifestyle and not being in that life anymore is why he felt he didn't need it anymore.
Right, you don't. If you don't go where it's at, no. Oh my goodness. But then I used to tell the kids at Omega, now, this is not quick draw McGraw, okay? This is not a shootout. Anybody who knows you got a gun is going to have theirs ready. While you're trying to pull yours out, they're waiting. Come on. If everybody knows you don't have a gun, then you don't have anything to worry about because they're not coming after you like that. It's crazy. No. Okay.
This is Dean. If you don't mind, I was just going to jump in and say something that's kind of completely different. But you know, again, Dr. Marshall, you and I think, are about the same age, and you know, I'm old enough to remember, and my real hero still today is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
Oh yeah.
I honestly think that we need somebody to come also from a faith perspective, you know, to really talk about love and fear and the thing, you know, you mentioned itself, you know, fear is a lot of what drives the people wanting to own guns. And you know, again, I think if we had somebody like Martin Luther King, you know, who could talk to people, white people, black people, everybody, about these things in a real way that would relate to where people come from. And I think, you know, again, it's just something to consider. Obviously, we still, though, need universal background checks. I think we need restrictions on ghost guns. We need restrictions on assault weapons and high capacity magazines. But I also think, though, you know, we really need to approach this in a multidisciplinary way. And I honestly think that, you know, we really do need, you know, someone who also comes from a faith tradition, you know, who can talk about these things to you know, people of all races and religions.
Well, all I want more than anything, and David, let me just say, he said it perfectly. He said he was scared. That's why he had the gun. So you had to have him deal with that fear. And once he dealt with the fear, I don't need the gun no more, right? And then the fear and let me get out of a lifestyle where fear is part of the lifestyle, right? So it's just having, I just have the conversations with people. I have to, but if you got a, I mean, look, you got a gun, don't be around me. I don't know how you are. I don't know what's going on in your head. You know, you might have had a fight with your woman this morning. You know, I don't know. I don't need you to be around me if you got a gun. And I've done that. I've done that with relatives. I go in their house. Nah. My daddy had a gun. Nah, daddy. Nah, I know how you are. No. You got to get rid of that gun before I come. I'm gonna take the gun. I just can't. Look, we have what do we have? What's the number one rule? There's nothing more valuable than my life.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more value than an individual's life, but we make the young people say nothing more valuable than my life. If there's a possibility you can put my life at risk, I ain't going. You know, if there's a place where I have a funny line with the kids. If I gotta go to a place, normally I gotta be patted down. Well, and you worried about something happening, right? If you pat me down, I ain't got patted down at church yet. I haven't got patted down at the hotel yet, right? Now, the clubs, I gave them up a long time ago because I got to get patted down. So that means somebody's worried, right? Now, so it's just, if we could just have conversations with people at schools, with anybody, here on the radio, because they just need to hear something different. You know, they need to hear something. What is driving you to want this thing? And then just talk to them and continue to talk to them, because you're going to save somebody's life. I mean, again, you might stop somebody from committing suicide, because that's what they're going to use. They're going to use that gun. So thanks again. We got a long way to go. We got an NRA out there and a whole bunch of people who think, well, you know, we're a gun-loving country. And maybe we can make some inroads on this. But one thing we do know that's probably going to happen, there's going to be another school shooting. There's going to be another community shooting. There's going to be another domestic violence shooting. There's going to be another suicide, and it will be by a firearm, because we have not been proactive enough in trying to do things to prevent those firearm deaths. So not to be fatalistic here, but you got to know what you want. You got to know what you want to do and do something about to begin to do it. And I applaud all of you who really, really, really want to do something about it. Sometimes even against putting yourselves at risk to do it, but nothing more valuable than saving somebody's life. Lady E?
What about the children? Is it only about the guns, easily accessed anywhere by just about anyone? Who's responsible? Who really cares? And what is it going to take for our children's sake to eliminate this problem for our children's sake? What about the children, and who's protecting them from being bullied, from getting teased, feeling like they're all alone? What about the children who are filled with fear, and when they report it, nobody seems to hear? What about the children who are looking to adults to act, but the grown-ups, where are they? So they feel they have to handle it themselves. But do they? Do they? So street soldiers want schools, communities, this nation to see a gun is never the answer for staying alive and free. This is Lady Estelle asking you to consider this.
Thank you once again, Ilana, I said it wrong for 2 hours. Ilana, have a great event. Have a great event this week. Put those guns down. Davida, yeah, I know you're gonna be doing your thing. You up there, you saving people every day. Dr. Parsonet and husband Dean, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for wanting to keep people alive and free. You know, it's just, Lady E, we keep on, right? One person can do a lot of damage. One person can do a lot of good. You reach one person, you're going to save somebody. That's why. Don't look at the big picture. Look at the one in front of you. It might be a headline you don't have to read about. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Stay alive and free.
Thank you, everybody. You're all doing God's work.